How
can a person raise his Yirat Shamayim, and then once he gets to the good level, how can he maintain it?
How could a person raise his Yirat Shamayim, and how could he maintain it? Well, to work on Yirat Shamayim means that a person needs to not only learn Musar, like we're learning in our series of the Igeret Agra, but he has to apply that Musar. He has to apply the different things, and one of the big things that a person needs to do is he has to do self-accounting of his own flaws. So how do you know what your flaws are? Get married, and you'll discover what your flaws are usually within the first 5 minutes. She's going to tell you about your flaws. Either you're cheap, or you're angry, or you're this, or you're that. Well, guess what? She knows what she's talking about. Pick one of those things and start working on it. Start working on it. If you're an angry monster, start working on it. If you're impatient, start working on it. How do you pick one to work on? Just pick one. Just pick one. I mean, I would say pick the one that's most damaging, but sometimes that's the most difficult. But pick one. Pick something to work on. And pick one, something that you're going to do everything possible to change it. Now, the more you invest into changing your character traits, the more you'll be able to serve Hashem completely. Now, if you're going to change the character trait just because your wife is upset, then that's not going to yield you very much. But if you're going to change that character trait because you know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you in order for you to change that character trait, He created you incomplete, meaning that your Avodat Hashem has now turned into something that your Avodat Amidot, you're fixing your character trait as part of your servitude of Hashem. Why would you do that? Because you know that your arrogance will lead you in Gehenom. You know that your stinginess will lead you in Gehenom. You know that your immorality will lead you in Gehenom. You know that all of these bad things lead you into a bad place. So you start working on them to fix them because, number one, you don't want to go to Gehenom or Kafakela or Chibut HaKever or all the other horrible places. And two, it's because each time you fix it a little bit, another brick, another chip, your prayer is elevated a little higher. Your connection to Hashem is a little clearer. The Rambam writes in Shmona Prakim, what's the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and the rest of the prophets? Because we all know that Moshe Rabbeinu is the prophet of all prophets, but what made that so? The Rambam writes that each one of the prophets, their prophecy was a different level, and the prophecy of, let's say, a prophet that was the lowest prophet, still a prophet, which we cannot even fathom what they are. We cannot even fathom what it is to be even a dust under their feet. But nonetheless, the lowest level prophet was someone that's, let's say, talking to Hashem as if there is a wall between them. So imagine we close all the doors and then somebody is talking on the other side of the wall. You understand what they're saying, but it's a little difficult, to say the least. Someone that's a higher level of prophet, there is not a wall per se that's made of brick, but rather a wall that's made of something a little thinner. And someone that is a higher level of prophet, then it's made of something thinner, wood, something hollow. Long story short, that there's still a separation between them and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but they can hear the message, but it's clearer to the higher level of the prophet. Moshe Rabbeinu, his prophecy was as if there was almost nothing between him and Hashem. As if there was just like a piece of glass between him and Hashem. As if there's nothing, like they're talking to each other, like a friend talks to his friend. So the Rambam says, what is the reason for that? Okay, we understand that. We understand that the messages that Moshe Rabbeinu had were much clearer. Hence, when you read the 5 books of Moses, you can understand it without even using commentary if you understand the holy language. You can understand the basic message. But the words of the prophets, if you read them literally, you'll go to an insane asylum or you'll become an idol worshiper. Why? Because their messages are more difficult to understand. You need commentary on the words of the prophet, even more so than what you need on the 5 books of Moses, because their language is a lot more difficult to understand. Hence the reason why there are 3 billion idol worshippers in the world that read the prophets literally. So their prophecy is less clear. The prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu is more clear. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu perfected his character traits. Which ones? All of them. He perfected himself. The others were also extraordinary men and women. There were 7 women prophets. There was 48 men prophets that are mentioned in the Tanakh. Says the Gemara in Masechet Megillah. There were many more throughout history, but 55 total are mentioned in the Tanakh. Those people, those leaders, perfected themselves at a very high level. Moshe Rabbeinu, perfect 10. Perfect 10. So when a person understands that their servitude of Hashem requires them to perfect different character flaws they have, whatever each one of us have, then you're getting closer to Hashem through that. You're applying the teachings of the Torah to your life, not just to put on tefillin and eat some cholent on Shabbat and not drive on Shabbat and Yom Kippur, but rather you're perfecting your character trait. You're becoming more patient, you're becoming more generous, you're looking at the world from a different perspective, you are less judgmental, more understanding, more clear on what's right versus wrong, and so on and so forth. The more a person applies these things to their life, not just through the mitzvot that are obvious, but also the actions that are not so obvious, the higher the level their Yirat Shamayim is going to be, because they're doing it for the sake of getting closer to Hashem, not just getting closer to their wife or husband. They're doing it because they're trying to serve Hashem with more clarity. They're trying to communicate to Hashem with more clarity, with more perfection. They realize that each one of these character flaws is like rust. And they're willing to do whatever it takes to fix it. And one of the things that the Rambam teaches is that if a person is stingy, they should give tzedakah every day. A little amount, but every single day. Why? Because eventually you'll do it enough times that you'll actually start liking to give. You start liking to give. Many times people have money for everything in the world except for Torah. They have money to buy a $5,000 watch. They have money to buy a $10,000 vacation once or twice a year. They have money to buy a very fancy car. They have money to have a down payment on a second house. They have money to do 1.5 million different things. But you tell them, listen, we're going to try to build a yeshiva. We're going to try to get Am Yisrael to do tshuva. We're going to try to help your own cousin do tshuva. We're going to try to help your brother do tshuva. We're going to try to do all these different things. Oh, okay, fine. Well, hold on a second. Let me check. Maybe I have $10, $15 on me. Hold on. Here you go. Wait. Aren't you like a computer rocket scientist or something like that makes like $300,000 a year? Yeah. Oh, you remember me, Rabbi. Oh, wow, you have such good memory, Rabbi. I know my tzedakah is going to the right place. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, misken. The poor guy doesn't even realize he has like spiritual cancer on his pocket. He doesn't realize it. He doesn't realize that he is sick. And you feel bad for the guy. You're not upset at him. You feel bad for the guy. Why? Because he has money for a $20,000 vacation, but the only merit he has is to give $15. You don't get upset at people for not giving. You get sad. Why? That's their ticket out. That's their ticket out. And if that's all they have, for lack of a better word, wow, it sucks. You're in bad shape and you don't even realize it. Now, sometimes a person doesn't have. That's not the same thing. If what you have is what you have, fine, you give whatever you have. It's all based on percentages. But if a person has and doesn't give, that's a bad sign. But the person that doesn't give usually won't believe that and think, nah, he's just saying it because you don't understand. I spoke to somebody a month ago, 2 months ago. Somebody asked me for a favor to go speak to them. I usually don't speak on the phone. But after like 15 requests, I went and I spoke on the phone. Especially since the request came from my rabbi. So I can't really say no. So now I made the call. And what was the request? Call this person and convince them to give $18. I said, are you kidding me? Do you know how much work I have? Like, you want me to call somebody to ask them for $18? Like, I don't know, 18 million, maybe I'll consider calling them. People tell me all the time, listen, I want to donate. Donate on the website. What, don't you want to call me? No. I don't call for money. I did that for 20 years. You want to donate? There's a website, be'ezrat-hashem.org, or bhtorah.org, or bhkiruv.org, and a lot of other websites, .org. Donate there, send a check in the mail, telepathy, whatever you want, just get the money. It's your job to get the money, not my job to get the money. Yeah, but I'm a big donor. Good, mazal tov. I'm not calling you for money. Yeah, but don't you want to build a yeshiva? Yeah. So why don't you call? Because I'm busy. Doing what? Building a yeshiva. You know how you build a yeshiva? Create 1.5 million students first. Then the building comes. So now that my rabbi is telling me, call this guy and ask him for $18, I'm like, oh man, this is like the Baal Shem Tov tells you go to some, I don't know, like woods and just like knock on some tree and some great blessing will come out of it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, he knows exactly how much work I have. My wife and Rabbi Ephraim are the only people on earth that know exactly what my day is like. Everybody else just imagines. So for him to go ask me, go call this guy and ask him for $18, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this is some Baal Shem Tov stuff. I can't do it. It takes me a month. It takes me a month to listen. I'm not joking. It takes me a month to listen to this. I make the call. I speak to the guy for 45 minutes. For me, that's like 1.5 years. I feel like I just gave this person 1.5 years of my life. About what? Give me $18. Now, of course, I talked about mitzvot and all types of other stuff, and then at the end, commit to $18. Credit card, $18. And I told him, I don't need your money. And in fact, if you don't have it, I'll give you the money. I'll send it to your bank and you could just deposit it if you want. That was the offer. I told him, I know he has money, makes good living, Baruch Hashem. But I told him, if you don't have it, I'll give you the money from my pocket and you could just send it to the organization. Automatically, once a month. 45 minutes. Did any of you ever get a 45-minute call? If all of you combined got 45 minutes on the phone with me, it would be a surprise. Do you think I got it? No. Do you think he said he's going to do it? Yes. Did he do it? No. You know why? Because he's very poor. Not with money. Mitzvot. People don't realize how poor they really are until an opportunity comes and they can't help themselves from simply getting in the way of themselves. So when somebody doesn't donate, I don't get mad. I get sad. And that's one of the things that a person needs to do for themselves. They need to check themselves. Where do I stand? Is one of my character flaws being stingy? Is one of my character flaws being an angry monster? Is one of my character flaws being arrogant? Is one of my character flaws being this or being that? Everybody has something. And a person that picks one of the flaws, work on it. You work on it for the sake of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you will earn more Yirat Shamayim. And you'll never have time to worry about, am I still on the same level, am I going higher? Because you're constantly working on getting it higher. Because as soon as you've gotten better at that midah, you start getting the desire to do with something else. You started with anger, now you want to be more humble. Then you want to do this, and then you continue to work. And it never ends, so there's never time to coast. If you're coasting in your servitude of Hashem, you're simply lying to yourself in your own decline. You're really going down, but you think that you're staying the same. There is no staying the same. It's either you're going higher or you're going lower. And Bezrat Hashem, each one of us uses these shiurim to get higher. Even if sometimes we can't help ourselves and fall. Get up. Go higher and higher and higher. Bezrat Hashem. Kadosh Baruch Hu will be proud of each one of us. Next question. Okay.
Knowing how cold your rabbi is, and because he asked you to make a phone call, do you think he asked you to make a phone call because connecting your story with the rich guy before, that he needs to donate this money in order to do something? If that's the case, why didn't your rabbi told him straight up, listen, you need to donate because this might happen, you know?
There is more details to the story that I can't disclose, but my rabbi told me to go do it because I'm the only guy on earth that can do it, and I'm the only one that can talk to this person. And it wasn't a problem of money. It was a problem that the person is in bad shape as far as spirituality, but doesn't realize it. Because they think they're observant of certain things, and therefore that makes them okay. They think that they give enough. They think that they're doing a lot of things, but they're really not. So the job was a task for me, and I was pretending to be the prophet Jonah for a month that didn't want to do it. It's not necessarily I didn't want to do it. It's just I was really busy, and I'm really busy constantly. People, are surprised that they get text messages from me at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And they think, oh, wow, you wake up so early. No, I just didn't go to sleep. And it's every day. It's a very long schedule, and there's a lot of people all over the world, and they need answers to a lot of questions, and they have issues, and some questions are stupid, and some questions are smart, and some questions are full of disaster, and some questions are very easy to answer, and some questions are very hard to answer, and some questions take me a day to answer, and some questions take me a second, and some questions take me a week and a half. But there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of things. So when you're thinking, okay, it's either call this guy for money, and it doesn't really make much of a difference to me how much money it is, whether it's $18 or $18,000, to me it's all the same. It's simply something I don't want to do. It's my own personal tikkun. I did it for a living. I used to raise $10 million a month. That's not my difficulty in life as far as convincing people to give me money. I just don't want to do it because that's what I did for a living, and I don't want to go back to that because I know my own Yetzirah will start making me think that I am the one that's bringing success. I want to constantly remind myself I'm zero. That's what I remind myself. I'm a servant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and literally all the success of Bezrat Hashem, all the success of your own tshuva, all the success of all the converts, all the success of all the people that got married, all the success of the blessings that come out of my mouth, all the success of the chidushim, all the success of all the shiurim, it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Me, zero. So the second I talk to you and I say, listen, do me a favor, give me your credit card or write me a check for $18,000 or $180,000 or maybe even $4.5 million because you got it like that so I can build something, and you say, okay, no problem. I know my Yetzirah is going to start saying, psh, you're really good, aren't you? Maybe you should do that more often. And I could justify doing it more often. Why? Because I need the money to go build an empire of Kedusha. So I could justify it. And before you know it, instead of having 3 shulim a week that I'm struggling to manage, you'll have 3 shulim a year. And instead of having thousands and thousands of Baalei Tshuva and converts and people that get closer to Hashem, you're going to have a big organization that has buildings but no real people. And there's plenty of that in the world. So that's one of the things that I decided not to do. I don't want to talk to people about money. And I've had opportunities where people tell me, listen, I know this guy, he's a billionaire. He can give you whatever you want. He just wants you to call him. And the answer is the same no that everybody else gets. And people are baffled by it, but they don't realize it's not them. It has nothing to do with them. It's me. It's all me. I don't want to do it. Because I know that's a test I don't want to give myself. It's just like the Gemara in Masechet Bava Metzia says, you have a destination to go to. You're at point A, there's point B. On the right side, there is a bunch of zonot. There's a bunch of immodest women. On the left side, it's much, much longer, but there's nothing there. The right side, you'll get there in 2 minutes. The left side will take you 3 hours. You say, you know what? I'm going to go the right side, but I'm going to close my eyes the whole time. 2 minutes, I'm going to close my eyes. Who can't close their eyes for 2 minutes? I'm going to close my eyes, walk like this. 2 minutes. Gemara says, Rasha. Why? What makes you so sure of yourself that you can withstand the test, that you're putting yourself in front of the test? You go to the beach thinking that you're not going to look. You go to all these parks thinking you're not going to look. You go to all these places knowing there's zonot there, and you think you're not going to look. No, but I close my eyes. You close your eyes and you're still a rasha. Why? Because you subjected a neshama to a test that's unnecessary. Yeah, but the other way was 3 hours. Let it be 3 years. It's still better than putting yourself in front of a test. So yes, even though there's 1.5 million reasons that I can tell you, it's not only allowed for me to go raise money, it's a mitzvah for me to raise money. That mitzvah is not a mitzvah that I want. Why? I'd rather save somebody. Because that's a bigger mitzvah. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give us money to go build something, that's his problem. He has to give the money. I don't have to get it. I don't have to help Hashem on that. It's not my job. So I don't have an update on building a community because I have a campaign on the internet that needs at least $4.5 million and I'm 10% there. I got, I don't know, 500,000 there. So we're not even close to where we need to be. The money that we need, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has it. It may even be in your pockets. I don't know. When will it come? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to decide that. I don't have to make the calls. I have some people that I help them transform their life from Gehenom, guaranteed for eternity, to Bezat Hashem, if they continue doing okay, they'll be in Gan Eden. And unfortunately, some of those people have the money. They have it. They don't want to give it. You know how I know they don't want to give it? They're not giving it. Why? Because I haven't called them. Rabbi, I want you to call me once in a while. Okay, I want a lot of things. I want all of Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Me wanting all of Am Yisrael to do tshuva is a lot more important than you wanting me to call you. You want somebody to call you? Get married. Or get a job. Customers. I don't know. Call yourself. You want advice from me? Send me a text message. I'll send you a voice note. You'll hear my voice anyway. You want to know more? Watch a shiur. But you know what happens is, when people get too close, they get that call. You know what happens? They stop watching the shiurim. A few times I made a call. A few times I made a meeting. Especially when I used to have a shiur every week. And people would come see me every day, or a few times a week. After the shiur, bunch of people got comfortable. So comfortable they started believing, I have a private relationship with the rabbi. Okay, great. So why aren't you watching the shiurim anymore? No, if I have a question, I call the rabbi. Okay, great, but why aren't you watching the shiurim? No, I already know. Like, they start deluding themselves to think because they have access to send me a question, and because maybe they came to my house, or because maybe they got a call, they don't have to watch the shiurim anymore. Guess what? Anyone that stops watching the shiurim will start failing immediately. Not because of me, but because this is the cure. If somebody else did this and I could just go into some cave and learn Torah, let them do it. I just don't, there is nobody else. But the reality is that people think that, oh, they're comfortable, they get a call, they get a meeting, they become your friend, and they start thinking, oh, so I don't need to watch the shiurim. And you start seeing their downfall. And it's so tragic. Because most of the time, they don't even think they're falling. Now, I'm not telling you they become, atheists and heretics. No, many times they continue becoming, being religious and so on. But it's not the same. It's not the same. And it's almost like you have to wait for a disaster to happen, because that's what brings them back usually. Disasters. Why? Because once disaster happens, some trauma, money loss, divorce, Shem Yishmor, all the disasters that happen every day, people start checking themselves. They start checking their pockets, see what's going on, checking their accounts, checking. Okay, what's missing? Oh, when stuff was going good, I remember back in the day I used to listen. Oh, yeah. Okay, you know what? Rabbi, can you help me? What do you mean? I haven't heard from you in 2 years. Last time I heard from you, you said that you're on a different path now. That you don't need to watch Shurim anymore. You've done Teshuva. What happened? Listen, it didn't really work out so good. I'm sorry to hear. What can I do to help you? You don't take it personally. You just feel bad. Why? Because it's much harder to do Teshuva the second time. So that's the thing. Me becoming comfortable and friendly with people is hazardous to their health. And there's a source for that. Mishnah, Masechet Avot, says that you have to make your house into a place of chachamim, but be always concerned not to get too comfortable with the chachamim lest they bite you. Why? Because it's very easy to get comfortable with the chacham. Why? They're nice people, they're smart, they're cordial, they have good midot, and so on and so forth. All the things that we aspire to have one day. So it's very easy to be comfortable with them. And all of a sudden you think that you're the rabbi's friend. And all of a sudden when the rabbi doesn't invite you for Shabbat, or doesn't invite you to this, or doesn't call you back, and doesn't this, and doesn't that, you take it personal. Oh, he's not calling me back? Not watching the shulim anymore. Why? What does that have to do with it? The shul is helping you go to heaven. No. I'll find somebody else. Okay, find somebody else. Good luck with that one. But typically it doesn't work out so good. Typically you're replacing heaven with Gehinnom. Typically you're replacing the truth with shekel. Why? Because that's what the Satan wants to do the whole time. That's the job of the Satan, and it works, unfortunately, it works. And that's the thing. So becoming friendly with people is hazardous to their tshuva. It's against their interest for me to become friends with them. It's against their interest for them to become comfortable with me. It's against their interest for me to call them and ask them for money. Because if I call people and ask them for money, they're not going to think that they need to do tshuva anymore. Because they'll think that, oh, I donated some money, so therefore that's already enough. I don't need to continue working on myself because I helped build this building and I helped do this and I helped do that, and they start deluding themselves into something that it's not. So because I know that thought process, I'm familiar with it, very familiar with it, from my past, from my present, and so on, I know that this is the best thing that I can do, is to avoid what I want to do. I want to call people and collect them $500 million. Because logically, I could build an entire, not a building. I could build a community. I could build a city. But that's not the right path. Why? Because there will be too many tragedies as a result of it. And it's not worth it. If I lose one Jew as a result of me making a call, the whole thing is not worth it. So that's a bigger reason, explanation of why I don't call people. And most people understand, some people don't want to understand. Why? Because they insist that they know better. Like the guy that's been hounding me for the last 3 days and keeps texting me and calling me in the middle of the night. Now you're free? How are you busy now? I see you. You're there. How come you're not answering me? People delude themselves. They insist they deserve a phone call. They insist they deserve special treatment. And they don't realize that special treatment is hazardous for their health. But again, you could choose to agree, disagree. It doesn't make much of a difference. I've had many conversations about this with my Rav. It's the path we're taking. But the Shem never changes. And if Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to succeed in building things and so on, he'll simply have to make it happen in a different way. And we'll do whatever we can that is within our ability, which is to push our bodies as much as we possibly can, to make this mouth talk as much as we possibly can, to make these eyes read and this mouth learn as much as it possibly can, so we can help people get closer to Hashem, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of the rest. Does it all work out in my mind at all times? No. There are times that you question yourself. There are times that you doubt. There are times that you start asking, why isn't the community built already? There are so many people that want to move here. Why isn't the Bet Knesset ready? Why isn't the yeshiva ready? Why isn't this and why isn't that? You could ask 500 million questions about why is it, but You know what the reason is? Kadosh Baruch Hu's not ready yet. Why? Apparently we're not ready yet. It could be I'm not ready yet. It could be you're not ready yet. It could be something's not ready yet. Just like the woman that was ready to get married 4 years ago, her zivug wasn't ready yet because he wasn't born yet. So the community we want to build it. It's not ready yet. If somebody wants to step up, or some bodies want to step up, by all means they're invited to do it. But I know for sure that whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides for it to happen, it will happen. And if he decides that it's not going to happen, there's no power in the world that's going to change that. If he wants us to instead move to Israel, he wants us to move to Mars, that's what he'll do. What we're going to do is what we can do. And we're going to try to do whatever we can to help as many people in the process, whether that's helping them on the internet or in shiurim like this or other ways. We'll do whatever we can. And B'ezrat Hashem will succeed. But I think that to be the most effective, you also have to be honest with yourself, honest with your own limitations, and sometimes your limitations are things that you're good at. You're good at it, and therefore it becomes a limitation. Sometimes your limitation is the obvious, which you're simply not good at something. But sometimes limitations is something that you're good at. And you have to know that this success in this will lead to disaster. And it's better for you to just simply not do it. And yeah, it happens in the world. People simply know that they're very, very good at something, and they decide, I'm not going to do it because I'm very good at it. It happens. So it's a test, but it's part of my servitude. But as far as that particular person, I really feel bad for them because they're so rich. All they have is money. That's the reality. They're so poor. They're so poor. All they have is money. That's the reality. It's a reality that they don't even realize is true. Yes.
How can one strengthen their emunah in their daily lives?
Emunah in daily life, first and foremost, is learning about the subject. We have a couple of sections of our shulim. We have a Bitachon Be'Hashem series of 16 lectures, which B'ezrat Hashem over the next couple of months we'll have a USB of it. But for now, a person can just watch it on our app or on YouTube. There's a series called Bitachon Be'Hashem. It's based on the teachings of the Bet HaLevi, the original Rav Soloveitchik. And it's extraordinary teaching that every person needs to listen to on a regular basis, not even just a one-time thing. My own dear wife listens to it on a rotation, because she says each time I listen to it, I get something else out of it. And she lives with me, so she kind of knows what I say. But she loves it, and it's one of those things that you constantly need chizuk. The Gemara says that there are certain things that need constant chizuk. There is just simply, there is no enough. You constantly need it because you have constant issues in life, and the Yetzer Hara is working really hard to make you forget about the previous salvation, or makes you think that there is no salvation this time, there was in the past, but there isn't going to be in the future, and so on and so forth. So learning that series of Bitachon Be'Hashem is very good, and also the first 20 lectures in the current series that we're working on already for the last couple of years, which is the Jewish Hashkafa. Because the Chazon Ish, during the first two chapters of that book, Emunah V'Bitachon, he went extensively into the explanation of the blueprint of what Emunah and Bitachon really is. So the first 20 lectures of that series, at least 20 lectures, they go into, in essence, the blueprint that we didn't discuss in the other series. And the combination of both will give you enough tools that you could apply to your life. Every lecture you'll find at least one tool. Of course, if you're really a deep learner, you may find 15, 25 tools. If you're a superficial learner, you'll get one tool. But nonetheless, you'll get a tool in every single lecture that you could apply to your life, and each one of them could transform your life. Sometimes having emunah is simply making a simple list of all the good things that happen to you. Every day, certain things that are good happen to you. If you want to make it even more significant, miracles that happen to you. Anything that you consider a miracle. You had bills to pay, you didn't have money. When the time for the bills came, you checked your bank and suddenly somebody sent you money, you didn't realize it. Somebody sent you the $500 that you need. That's a miracle. Or somebody that the other day told me that I was actually expecting to see him. here. He told me that a miracle happened to him. I said, what happened to you? He sends me a picture. He says, you see this picture? This is one of the trailers that we use. It's in construction. And he says, it's missing a wheel. And what happened is that this wheel fell off moments after we got to the destination. He said, had it fallen off while we were driving, it would have been tragic. It would have been tragic. And he says, I know that it happened because after fighting with my Yetzer Hara for, I don't know, however long it was, I don't remember what it was on his voice note, he said, after fighting my Yetzer Hara, I finally got to it, and I started a monthly donation to Be'ezrat Hashem, and I know that's what saved my life. Now, what a Kadosh Baruch Hu decides in Shamayim or not is not my business. But when a person sees it themselves, that they did something good, that took them a lot of work to do, and they got an immediate life-saving miracle, literally 12 hours later or less, only a person that prefers to be blind, is not going to see it. So he saw it, and Baruch Hashem, he saw it. A lot of people get these same things and don't see it. I had one guy years ago, he donated money, and literally within like an hour and a half, some strange person called him and gave him the same kind of business to make he made that money back. And he called me to tell me, oh, listen, I got it, what great, it's amazing, what a miracle. I said, Baruch Hashem, great, fantastic. Unfortunately, that was the last time he ever recognized the miracle, and he stopped watching the Shurim. That's what happened. This is one of my examples of somebody that I used to take calls from that became too friendly. So that friendliness led to a end of a relationship to a certain extent. Not because I did anything bad to him or he did anything bad to me. If I call him right now, I'll answer the phone. If he calls me right now, I'll think about it twice if I don't answer the phone. But the point being is that it's just that closeness made the person feel like they don't need to watch the Shurim anymore. And it's sad. So the thing is, though, is that there are times where there are clear miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to see. Yes, it is connected to that good act that you did. You gave tzedakah to the right place. It's connected. You got something out of it that is just a small down payment. Sometimes it's 6 months later. Sometimes it's a year later. A person has to be, trained to see all these things, but that training requires himself. One of the things that you can use as a tool to help yourself see the good during bad times and during every day is that when these good things happen in your life, when that tire falls, but it's not while you're driving, when that cure happens, even though the doctor says no, when the money shows up, even though you have no idea how it's going to be, all types of miracles that people have. Every day in your life, you write it in a little notebook. You just simply have a little notebook. You take that blue notebook that you got for free, you make that the miracle notebook. You make that the miracle notebook. And you carry it with you at all times. Or if you don't want to carry it because, I don't know, you're one of these people that wears tight pants or something, that you can't carry anything in your pockets, then at least put it in a place that you remember it every day, and every day get to that notebook and write down whatever miracles happen to you. And guess what? Over time, you're going to start filling up some pages. Now, why are you going to write all this stuff? You're not being tested. I don't need to see it. You know who needs to see it? You. When? When you stop believing. When the Yetzer Hara makes you forget. When the Yetzer Hara makes you forget that God's there. When the Yetzer Hara makes you forget that God can bring you a miracle. When the Yetzer Hara makes you forget that there is salvation. That's when you open that book and say, wow, I forgot about that. We needed money and it just showed up that day. Yeah, wow. Wow, yeah, I forgot about that. The baby was sick. The doctor said he's going to die. And wow, today's 5 years old. Forgot about that. How do you forget? It's easy to forget. It's easy to forget. Doesn't cost anything to forget. It's free to forget. But you write it down, and it helps. It's a tool. So the combination, learning, acting on it. I just gave you one simple tool that's very valuable, and you apply the tool to your life, you'll be teaching here in no time.
אני מברך את הרבנים, רגע. אני מברך את הרבנים, הרב ירון ראובן, הרב אפרים כחלון, ראשי ארגון בעזרת השם, שהלכו בפי עליון, שעלו מעלה, יהיה להם ברכה והצלחה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא בישועות ליבם לטובה ולברכה. שבכל מה שיפנו, ישכילו ויצליחו. יזכו לעשות כאלה וכאלה, הרדיעו תורה לאדירה, אמן ואמן.
בעזרת השם רשת בכל הארץ. הוא היהודי הזה, הוא היה מיליונר, סגר את כל הביזנס, אמר אני משקיע פה בעולמה של תורה.
איפה הוא גר?
בפלורידה.
פלורידה. איפה זה פלורידה? באמריקה.
מיאמי. כן, ליד. אנחנו שם עכשיו הולכים להקים קהילה ספרדית.
חזק אותו בשמי.
קהילה ספרדית גדולה.
תעבירו מה שבירכתי אותו.
כן, קהילה ספרדית גדולה.